What's going on, guys? Aaron here on Easy Street, professional driver, amateur human. Now, I want to start by apologizing. I said in my last video that I had a midweek video idea that I did have and I started working on, but I didn't have everything I needed for it. So, you will get that as a midweek video this week, or this coming week, once I have everything finished. Now, with that said, we just got our final check in June. How did we do? What are we looking at? And what do we do going forward? That's all coming up right after the intro. All right, so we're sitting here in a staging area at a customer waiting for a door. So we are going to go through some numbers here. My apologies if you see a cut. I will come right back where I left off and we will continue there. But I want to start off by saying that the reason that I'm doing this for the month and not, week to week, because that's what everybody wants to know. How much are you going to make a week? How much, and it varies so wildly. I'm a lease driver, but even on the company side, it'll vary. You might have a week where you get 3,000 miles. You'll have a week where you might get 1,500 miles because your next load's a long one that carries over. It all depends on how the loads fall. So I figure if I do this by month, what that's going to do is that's going to give you a better average. So I want to start off by saying my first week, the first pay in June, only had 4 days on it. Now granted, it didn't have a truck payment or anything like that, but it only had 4 days on it. There was another week where I ended the week negative $46. Because of the way loads fell. I will say that I wasn't happy there for a little bit. If I was going to keep having all this extra time on loads and all this time in between loads, that I was, so I ended up chatting with my dispatcher, and I let him know, especially once we started picking up, that I appreciated it, that we had a better understanding now. So, with that said, here's my June numbers. Now, these are dispatched. I have my truck miles, but I need to subtract out, for the load that I'm currently on, that, I'm a few hundred miles into. But dispatched miles, 7,750 miles. On that, I made $13,398.58 just in revenue, or $1.72 a mile just in the standard revenue. Now, you add in all the accessorials, the fuel surcharge, I didn't do everything individually, because if you're with Prime, if you know Prime settlements, there's a line item for everything. When it comes to lumpers, they show it as being taken out of your settlement in the expenses area and then reimbursed in the revenue area, so I'm not going to go through all that. I had my fuel surcharge revenue was $3,720.99, or an average of 48 cents per mile in fuel surcharge. Add in the extra stuff, stop pay, reimbursed lumper, blah, blah, blah. That shows a total of $18,577.11 on 7,750 miles, giving me an average of $2.39.7 cents, or $2.40 a mile, all in. So if you take just the revenue, or the line haul revenue plus fuel surcharge, you're looking at $2.20 per mile, $2.20.7 a mile. So it's not been bad. I've had some loads that didn't pay great, but a lot of my loads have paid very well. Now, my fixed cost for that period for June was $4,123.92. That's costs that are going to come out no matter what. My truck payment, my APU payment, my insurance, all of that kind of stuff. So that was 53.2 cents per mile for my fixed costs. The only way to lower your fixed cost cents per mile is to run more miles, because that number, the number will change for me because there was a portion in there without a truck payment due to just getting started leasing. Fuel on 7,750 miles. Now, I have a 2027 Freightliner, so I sacrificed some bumpiness and some speed for fuel economy. So I paid $5,076.84 pump price. Now, with Prime's discounts, that was about 18% off. So I paid $4,287.61 in net, or in fuel after discount. So then you take out, if you want to know your net fuel cost, which is after the fuel surcharge, what your net is. So I received $3,720.99 in fuel surcharge compared to $4,287.61. So in 7,750 miles, my net fuel cost was $566.62, or 7.3 cents. Now, that's a pretty darn good number when you look at it. I spent 1.1 cent per mile. I spent $134 pump price minus $47.38 discount. I didn't put the total on there. It's like $85 or $87 or something. I also spent $460.26 in reefer fuel after the discount, which discount is either pump price or what they give you back if for your first fuel. Now, miscellaneous expenses, which is literally everything. If you swipe your badge at the North Star Grill there at the terminal, if you get something from the company store on your truck, which I paid about half of the initial stuff that I needed from the company store, so because you have to buy the alloy locks and all that kind of stuff. But my miscellaneous cost was $4,261.54. Of that, $1,000, if you look at my last video, I'm pretty sure it was my last video, $1,000 of that was an insurance claim. That is 100% on me. That's not on Prime paying me less. That's not on, a bad load or anything like that. That's all on me. So really, $3,261.54. And I believe that includes... No, it doesn't include the fuel. I'd have to look again to see every single thing that it covers. But my total expenses were $14,498.20. Again, $1,000 of that was on me. So $1.87 a mile expenses. Which brought my net for 4 weeks to $4,078.91. That doesn't sound great, but again, one of the weeks had 4 days, one of the weeks I was negative $46. So that brought that average to $1,019.70 per week. Now, that's not the end of this breakdown. So my net is showing at 52.2 6 cents per mile or whatever right now. But take into account that $640.90 of that went into the e-fund, which I can access anytime. That's my money that I am choosing to allow Prime to hold. That brings the total up to $4,719.81, or 60.9 cents per mile. Now, one more thing I want to add in, because this is not Prime's fault for the bad loads or anything, is that $1,000 insurance deductible that I want to hope that most of you guys will never have to pay. So you add that back in, it brings my June total to $5,719.81, or 73.8 cents per mile. Now you take my e-fund and that insurance that, you know, that you guys should never have, add that in, and now that becomes $1,429.93 average per week. And that's with my good weeks and my bad weeks. Imagine if that negative $46 was $1,000 a week. You know, that adds another $250 to that weekly average. You know, if that $1,000 wasn't in there, like, there's money to be made if you just keep your left door closed, keep rolling, and don't do stupid stuff. So again, now July, I will be taking a couple of days off. I believe I'll be taking about 3 days of home time. So we'll see, because that'll be another week that has 4 days in it. Now I'm hoping to not be negative at all this week. I'm currently on a load. And by the way, I keep track of all of my load info for every load, as far as my pay and where I sit. I even have where I sit for the week after that load. So I deduct my expenses, my variable, my fixed, my fuel, all of that stuff. So after this load, I'm currently sitting negative $240.15. It's only Friday. I have all weekend and, you know, early next week. Now I believe they're ending the week early again because 4th of July is coming. So I think that's going to make the weekend on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. So I'm going to miss a day in there, but it'll make up for it on the next week. That's another reason why I'm not doing weekly pay videos. Because, you know, when Juneteenth came, payroll cutoff was Tuesday, which only gave us 6 days for that week. But the next week was an 8-day week. You know, so numbers are going to look inflated or deflated based on any number of conditions. So I'm going to try to remember to put these out every month. I keep everything in this notebook as far as my monthly totals. And we will see how this goes. By the way, for those of you wondering, my average miles per gallon, I didn't write that down. It's somewhere like 9.4 or 9.5 or something like that. So that includes going through the Appalachians a couple times, and you know, but it also includes taking a load out to Nebraska from, I think, Illinois or Pennsylvania, where it's just a mostly flat drive, that I got like 10.2 miles per gallon average. So, you know, there's money to be made here. We're going to continue taking a dive into our numbers, and if you guys have any questions about how any of the numbers are figured out, let me know in the comments, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. If they're deep enough questions, I may even just throw together a video so that anyone else that has that question can get the answer. So guys, until next time, look past the junk in life. Everything is beautiful. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and stay safe out there. Peace.